Welcome to the channel. This video is part of our mission to help you grow, think, and live better. Today, we're diving into Atomic Habits by James Clear, a book that's really changed how millions of people think about habits, progress, and personal growth. This isn't just another self-help book. It's a practical guide for making real changes. What makes it special is that Clear focuses on the process of building habits, not just the results. He doesn't just tell you to work harder or be more disciplined. Instead, he gives you concrete strategies to tweak your environment, shift your mindset, and even change how you see yourself, making lasting change feel almost natural. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how to take charge of your habits, step by step, and create a life that truly aligns with what you want. Let's start with the core idea of Atomic Habits. Habits are like compound interest for self-improvement. Just like your money grows over time with smart investments, small habits, when done consistently, can lead to huge payoffs in your life. Clear uses a great example to illustrate this. Imagine an ice cube in a room where the temperature slowly rises. 26 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 degrees Fahrenheit, 28 degrees Fahrenheit, the ice stays frozen. Then the room temperature hits 32 degrees Fahrenheit and the ice starts to melt. Was it just that 1 degree that made it melt? Of course not. It was the gradual buildup of heat that finally reached the tipping point. That's exactly how habits work. You often don't see progress right away because the results lag behind the effort. But if you stick with it, these small changes will eventually lead to a breakthrough. He also shares a powerful real-world example, a British Airways flight back in 1983. A plane flying from Auckland to Antarctica was just 2 degrees off course. It might not sound like much, but that tiny difference caused the plane to crash into a mountain, tragically killing everyone on board. The important thing to remember here is that small adjustments, whether good or bad, can have a massive impact over time. Whether it's saving an extra $10 a week or skipping just one workout, your habits are constantly shaping the direction of your life. The key is to make sure they're taking you where you want to go. So, how do these small changes actually become part of our daily lives? The answer lies in understanding how habits themselves work. James Clear introduces something called the habit loop. It's a simple framework that breaks down the 4 stages behind every habit we form, good or bad. First, there's the cue. This is what triggers you to act. Then comes the craving, the motivation or desire that comes from that trigger. Next is the response, the actual habit or behavior itself. And finally, there's the reward, the benefit you get that reinforces the habit. Let's look at an example to make this clear. Imagine you're at home, scrolling through your phone, and it buzzes with a notification. That buzz is the cue. It grabs your attention. You instantly feel the urge to check it because you're curious. That's the craving. So you pick up your phone and take a look. That's the response. And finally, you get the satisfaction of knowing what the notification was, maybe a funny meme or a message from a friend. That's the reward. Over time, your brain starts to link the cue, your phone buzzing, with that little hit of dopamine from the reward. After repeating this enough times, it becomes automatic. You don't even think about it anymore. It's just a habit. What's really interesting is that this same loop applies to every habit, whether it's working out, meditating, or even snacking on junk food. It explains why habits can be so hard to break, and more importantly, how we can actually change them. Now that we understand how habits work, let's talk about taking control. Whether you're trying to break a bad habit or build a good one, James Clear's 4 laws of behavior change give you a simple, actionable framework to get started. The first law is, make it obvious. This is all about setting up your environment so that good habits are hard to miss. Clear tells a story about someone who wanted to stop biting his nails. What did he do? He wore gloves at work. This simple change created a physical barrier, making the habit impossible to continue and eventually breaking it altogether. The same idea works in reverse for building good habits. Say you want to drink more water. Clear suggests keeping a water bottle on your desk or nightstand. The easier it is to see, the more likely you are to actually drink. Clear also introduces habit stacking. This means linking a new habit to an existing one. For example, if you already brush your teeth every morning, you could add flossing right after. The existing habit becomes the cue for the new one. The second law is make it attractive. We're naturally drawn to things we find pleasurable and avoid things we find painful, so making habits more appealing is super effective. Clear talks about temptation bundling, which means pairing a habit you want to build with something you already enjoy. For example, you could only let yourself watch Netflix while you're on the treadmill. That way, you're connecting something you like with the habit you're trying to build. Clear also talks about the power of social influence. You're much more likely to pick up habits if the people around you are doing them too. Joining a running group or a writing group, for example, can make it much easier to stick to those habits. The third law is make it easy. This one's all about practicality. Clear emphasizes minimizing friction. If a habit feels hard or complicated, you're less likely to do it. That's why keeping things simple and focusing on small wins is so important. If you want to start running, don't aim to run a 5K on day one. Start by just putting on your running shoes and walking outside. Sometimes just getting started is the hardest part, and small steps can build momentum. He shares a neat example from a Japanese tidying show. They help someone overwhelmed by the clutter in their apartment by starting with one tiny step, putting one sock in the laundry basket. That's it. Once he did that, he felt motivated to do the next thing, and before long, his whole apartment was clean. Finally, we have the fourth law, make it satisfying. This is about rewarding yourself for making progress. Our brains love instant gratification, so giving yourself small positive reinforcements can really help solidify good habits. Clear suggests using a habit tracker. This can be as simple as marking off days on a calendar every time you complete a habit. Seeing your streak grow can be surprisingly motivating. Those are the 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. Each law is powerful on its own, but when you combine them, they create a really effective strategy for changing your habits and, as a result, your life. These laws are really practical, but to take them to the next level, it helps to connect them to how you see yourself. This is where identity comes in. James Clear makes a strong point. The best way to change what you do is to change who you think you are. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on who you want to become. For example, instead of saying, I want to quit smoking, say, I'm not a smoker. Or instead of saying, I want to lose weight, shift your focus to, I'm a healthy person. Every time you take an action that aligns with this new identity, you're casting a vote for the person you want to be. Write one sentence? You're voting to be a writer. Go for a walk? You're voting for your identity as an active person. Over time, these small votes add up, and your identity starts to shift, naturally supporting the habits you're trying to build. But even with the best systems and a strong sense of identity, life happens. So what do you do when you slip up or miss a day? One of the most valuable insights from Atomic Habits is this: never miss twice. Missing a day is going to happen. Maybe you skip a workout or you forget to journal one night. That's okay. The important thing is how quickly you get back on track. It's like flying a plane. If the plane drifts off course by a degree, a quick correction will get it back on track. But if you don't make that correction, the plane could end up way off course. It's the same with habits. It's not about being perfect, it's about long-term consistency and making small course corrections when you need to. The key to lasting change is focusing on progress, not perfection. It's not about never making mistakes, it's about getting back up, learning from your mistakes, and keeping the momentum going. Relying on willpower alone just isn't enough. That's where your environment comes into play. James Clear makes it clear that your environment often has more influence than your willpower. Think about it. We're constantly being influenced by the cues around us. If your surroundings make it easy to fall into bad habits, no amount of motivation will help in the long run. On the other hand, when your environment supports good habits, making changes becomes almost effortless. For example, if you want to cut down on junk food, the best strategy isn't trying to resist cravings with sheer willpower. It's simply not having junk food in your house in the first place. If you want to read more, put books in places where you naturally relax, like on the sofa or your nightstand. The more visible and accessible the cue is, the more likely you are to take action. Clear shares a cool story about a woman who wanted to watch less TV. Her solution was surprisingly simple. She unplugged her TV and put it in a closet. So, every time she felt like watching TV, she had to physically get it out, plug it in, and set it up. This small change added just enough friction to make her think twice, and eventually she broke the habit altogether. The main takeaway here is that your environment can be a powerful tool or a major obstacle. So if you're serious about building better habits, start by creating a space that supports your goals. We've covered a lot of ground so far, from the habit loop and the 4 laws to the importance of identity and environment. But there's one important question we haven't touched on yet. How long does it actually take to build a habit? Let's dive into that. You've probably heard that it takes 21 days to form a habit. While this is a popular idea, James Clear explains that it's more of a myth than a fact. Research from University College London shows that the time it takes to build a habit varies quite a bit. On average, it takes about 66 days for a behavior to become automatic, but the exact time depends on how complex the habit is. For example, something simple like drinking a glass of water with lunch might only take around 20 days to become a habit. But a more challenging habit, like running every morning, could take well over 200 days. The key thing here is patience. Don't get hung up on a specific time frame. Instead, focus on being consistent, even if you don't see results immediately. It's the repetition, doing the habit consistently, that makes it stick. Think of building a habit like planting a tree. At first, you don't see anything happening. The seed is underground and there's no visible growth. But over time, with consistent watering and care, the tree starts to sprout. Eventually, it grows into a tall, strong tree, but that's only because of all the unseen work that happened beforehand. So, how long does it really take to build a habit? The honest answer is, it takes as long as it takes. The important thing isn't the timeline, it's your commitment to putting in the consistent effort. This brings us to our final point, the incredible power of small, consistent actions to create big changes. To wrap things up, this has been a quick overview of Atomic Habits. This book isn't just about building habits, it's about changing your whole approach to life. James Clear shows us that real progress doesn't come from huge leaps or drastic overhauls. It comes from small, consistent actions that add up over time. If you're ready to take control of your habits, start small. Focus on those tiny 1% improvements and trust the process. Over time, those little changes will turn into big results. And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about getting a little bit better every day. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. We provide complete and concise summaries of impactful books to save you time and help you effectively grasp their key insights.